So I'm wishing you a very, very, very happy new year 2024, filled with lots of beautiful knitting projects and everything that you could be wishing for you or for everyone you love. So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my very small place on the internet where I share my knitting adventures and different projects. My name is Isabelle, I am in France, and today it's going to be a regular knitting adventure episode. We are on the 4th of January and this video should be up by tomorrow, Friday the 5th of January, as if I respect my regular upload schedule. My end of year has been very busy, either hosting many people or traveling to see other people. So I had no time to record before today. One day before posting, you know I don't like that very much. So I have to edit the video and have it up for tomorrow. We'll see if I have enough time. I guess I will make my time tonight. So as I said, today it's going to be a regular knitting adventure episode where I'm going to be sharing my project, my work in progress, because as I said, I've been quite busy and I haven't finished anything, although I have casted on 2 projects that I'm going to be showing you if this is of some interest to you. Okay, so first, what am I wearing? In this very cold day, we have a very strange weather at this point in France. We had terrible storms with lots of wind, lots of rain. Some parts of France are flooded, some rivers that have overflowed sometime in November are overflowing again. So the people who had been rescued and their house dried out and they had started to repair their houses are under the water again. Very, very windy. I drove a lot during this end of the year, and when I went back to my Normandy a couple days ago, it was during a huge storm with lots of rain, lots of wind. So a very strange weather. For now, we are having kind of a gloomy day with lots of clouds, but clear skies, no wind, no rain, and this weekend, this upcoming weekend is supposed to be sunny and extremely cold, which I prefer. Anyway, what am I wearing? All this very long introduction to tell you that I've been finding warmth and comfort into my knits. So although if the sun is coming up, I will probably have to take off my fleur shawl that I knit as part of knit along or make along. I'm not sure I recall how they called it. Fleur shawl is a free pattern by Espace Tricot, and knit along was hosted by Jackie and Carmen from Knitting a Good Yard podcast because they fell in love with the pattern, and I do agree it's a very beautiful pattern. I knit it with Knitted and Held single, a very beautiful yarn that Caroline gifted me with. I will write the names. I think it's parallel. This pinker one is parallel, pink and grayish one. And I made with the white one very big bubbles. Knitted and Held single in this very, very fragile white one, and making big bubbles was kind of a bit of a challenge. But I'm very happy. I did try to knit knitted and single because it gave me some kind of experience with it, and I'm now able to make some choices. And underneath is my Chobet bandana inspired. It's a free pattern by Lamb & Kid, and I just made it. I used the increase rate, and I made it with some yarn that Frédéric from Atelier Paulin gifted me with, because this yarn had problems, and she offered me to test it and see what it does. It was overspun, I think, and it was going sideways when you knit with stockinette. In her natural grey, I think these are not her Hampshire down. I don't think it's the Romney yarn. And I'm also wearing it. You may see it a bit better if I take all of this out. My Barbara sweater that I knit with Laine West yarn, also natural Normandy yarn from very rustic Normandy ship. And this pattern is just, and the motif, the stitch motif, the stitch pattern is just absolutely beautiful. And the construction is just some other kind, or I would say the kind of construction we used to have in the 70s. And it reminds me of that period. I love it. The yarn is dry, and I think it's a very good yarn to be wearing when the weather is damp and cold, because it keeps me very warm, and I love it for that. I really do. I'm wearing it a lot, and I'm wearing a lot also of, I'm having a lot of wear of the sherbet bandana. I guess I'm wearing it almost every day. It's extremely easy to wear. You tuck it under things and just disappears and keeps you very, very warm. So yes, my two pieces from rustic Normandy wool, and the pattern, the Barbara pattern I haven't said, is by Isayer, Marianne Isayer, in her Back to Trust book that also one of you gifted me with. And the knitted yarn on top of the Normandy wool makes a very, very cozy combination, and even maybe a bit too warm. So I may, if the sun goes out, I may have to take the fleur shawl off. Okay, so now that I'm all buckled up again in my fleur shawl and I'm being very warm, I was taking off my end of the year house decoration, and I decided I was going to keep my background for one more video, if you don't mind. So what I have been working on. So there are two work in progress that you know of, two sweaters, which is kind of unusual to me because I usually mix one sweater and one accessory, or one easy and one more complicated type of project. I have two sweaters on my needles for now. The first one is the Dusking sweater. So I have been working on it quite a bit, and I've run into one problem that I haven't solved yet. So this is why the Dusking sweater was kind of in its own corner, punished in its own corner, because I'm not sure how to finish that. So anyway, I do not recall if I had finished the body last time. I think I did. I think I had, sorry. And so I finished one sleeve. And I will tell you what my problem is, because knitting with 5mm needles, so that's, or 5.5, so that's US 8 or 9 or something, with just one strand of mohair, and this is the mohair I get in Poitou, silk, baby silk mohair. On the body, it's okay. You have a cable, all your needles on your cable, and it's just fine. Knitting on the small circumference for the sleeve with my Chiagu needles, which have a very rigid cord, even though I was doing magic loop, was very difficult. So I switched to 4 needles, so as a triangle, 3 needles as a triangle and 1 to knit, and I hope this will be blocking out because I was getting a ladder. You see, I've switched. So it was much easier to knit with the 4 needles, not 5, but 4 needles. But I have a ladder, and I hope it's gonna be blocking out. It's under, so that's fine. I'm not gonna be seeing much because you have the top of the sleeve here, so it's invisible. I had a ladder only at one point, not at the other ones, when I'm switching needles, so I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. I guess for the second sleeve, and this is why I've set this project aside for a bit, I guess for the second sleeve I will go back to magic loop because I like the finish better, but it's very difficult. The yarn is very, very thin, so you can have it here. It's lace weight or even less than lace weight on 5 or 5.5 millimeter needles. It's very difficult on small circumference. So we'll see what I do, and this is one of the reasons why I guess I would have liked to have short circumference circular needles, I guess. So I did for the end of the bottom of the sleeve, for the cuff, I did the same as I did for the bottom of the sweater. I used the second strand of mohair to make a little ribbing and cast off, loosely cast off, so it's not flaring out with when you end up the fabric with just stockinette. And even though the pattern calls for an I-cord edging, but I tried it on the body, and even though there was an I-cord, I had tried to make it a little bit snug so that it would not flare out but flare in or stay in. It was not working at all on the body, so I did not even bother on the sleeves. I made a little ribbing with two strands of yarn, and I still need to go and get some nice buttons for the back, which has a small keyhole in the back, and I'm not sure. I guess I will get some kind of mother of pearl or imitation buttons the same way it is in the pattern, because I think it's what is going to be going the best with it. So I need to pick up and knit my second sleeve. The beginning of the knitting should be fine. It was only getting difficult when I went, so I'm going to show you the side where there is no ladder. When I went from here 2 strands to 1 strand, it was very, very difficult. So if you do have recommendations for knitting lace weight mohair with big needles on a short small circumference, I would take your recommendations. And as I'm wearing my fleur shawl here, and I think these two, and I was already decided I would wear these two together. These two will go very well together. And of course, I do not recall if I said the Dusking was by Kayomi Berging, and it's a pattern in a Dharma correction by Amirisu. And there are other patterns in this book that I have my eyes on. Okay, next work in progress that we have already seen too is my Sorrel by, I'm losing my needles, is my Sorrel by Olympe. So I don't think you have seen it finished. I have finished the body, not the sleeve. Of course, I have to cast the sleeves on and work on them. I have finished the body, and you have here the ombre effect and the fading effect between the different mohair yarn, and I will stand up so that you can see it a bit better. Okay, so you may have noticed it was on the wrong side. So, and you may recall too that I'm knitting the body of and I'm knitting the sweater with Romney yarn by Atelier Pure Laine, and I am fading mohair from wagtail mohair that Rosemary so generously sent me. So this is leaf green, if I recall correctly. It's an acid green type of mohair, and my original plan was to fade it to dark mohair. And also, if you've seen the different stages of this project on previous videos, you know that I did not like the way dark mohair with light yarn, because the yarn is creamy white, was the effect that it had. Of course, I may have been discovering by myself that you can't mix a dark mohair with a light yarn or a dark yarn with a light mohair without having a marling effect. And I don't mind the marling. What I did not like at all is you could see very obvious lines of dark mohair in the between of the general halo of the light mohair. So I ripped that out several times to find the correct combination, into my opinion. And so I moved to the light cyan, still by wagtail yarn. So the light cyan I have reserved enough to make the sleeves and have the sleeves stop at the same level. And I moved to the whites. I also tried different things, and I tried the variegated cyan. That was a bit too dark as I had envisioned, and I moved to the white. So the bottom of the sweater and the end of the cuffs are going to be white, which was not my first choice. And I haven't bound off. I will bind off at this level if everything goes fine. If I have enough white to, once I finished the sleeves, and that's the same way I made my calculations, so that I have just enough if I stop here to finish the sleeves. But I was a bit generous in my calculation, so if I have enough, I may take out the ribbing and knit a little bit longer, so that I use all the white and all the light cyan. So this is what it's looking like right now. And for now it's on hold, and I need to pick up the sleeves and start working on the sleeves. And also, as I have been talking with some of you in the comment section, I wasn't sure, this is also why I have not casted off completely the body, if I would cast off with the dark green or not, the same way I made with the color, because my initial thought was I would move from light to dark and darker. So I guess I will bind off with the dark green. I will try with one cuff and see if I like it, or if I just keep it at the top of the collar. Some of you have said that it should be fine and it would tie the whole sweater together, which I agree with, and it's my original idea. So I will try it out on a cuff, and if I like it, I will also do it on the body. I'm really looking forward to having this one done, because it's going to be very, very warm. The yarn is very warm by itself. Rustic Normandy yarn from the Romney are not Normandy ship, but rustic yarn, very, very warm, with the mohair that adds a bit of fluff. Ham says he's going to jump. He's jumped. A bit of fluff, so more air trapped into the fabric, and that keeps it very warm. I think it's going to be fine. I think I'm going to love it, and I need to rush into finishing it. So I took the fleur shawl away. I was getting very, very, very warm. So my next work in progress is a pattern and a project that you haven't seen yet. I cast it on Christmas morning or Christmas Eve, I do not recall exactly. And I cast it on because it's a simpler and a smaller project, and I knew that after Christmas I was going to go to see my beloved in-laws. Everyone is from Poitou, from my family, so I drove down to Rennes to pick up my youngest son, then to the north of Poitou to pick up my mother. And we went back for the Christmas weekend. She stayed the whole week at home, and I had my two youngest at home for the whole week too, and my youngest even longer than that. And my eldest son, who lives in Caen, came for Christmas, so we were all together for an extended period of time. And I knew I would not have time to knit a lot, and I would not have time to manage my mohair and counting all the stitches and weighing out what I've left and everything, or managing my sleeve on the dusking and finding out a way to knit it comfortably and finish the sweater. So I decided I would cast on a simpler project. And so I casted on Olympe. Olympe is by Camille Delahaye. It's Les Aiguilles de Camille. She's a French designer. And the pattern is both in French and English. And I'm using, because I was really impatient to be trying it out, I'm using the beautiful cashmere yarn I got at Atelier Pure Laine last November. And I'm using it double because the pattern yarn weight recommendation was more along the sorry for the noise, along the cashmere held double because it's fingering weight. So this pattern, if you don't like bubbles, look away, look away. Because this pattern is a scarf with bubbles. So if I can, okay. So this is the beginning of the scarf. You start and you knit straight on one side and increase on the other side. You have bubbles every 4 rows, and there are 7 or 8 rows at the largest part of the scarf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 rows of bubbles at the largest part of the scarf, and once you have the length that you want, I think the pattern recommends 1 meter and 45 centimeters. So if we say we have 3 feet in a meter, so that's between 5 and 6 feet. I will write it down for imperial measurements. So once you have, and the pattern is designed to be knit with 1 plassard, so it's another brand of yarn. We can find it here in France. Maybe you can find it somewhere else in the world. That has an ombre effect, and it's a long color changing yarn. So it's designed to go with 1 skein of yarn. So once you have that many grams left, you are at the middle and everything. So all the yarn management is described in the pattern. Of course, I'm not using that at all because I'm making it only 1 color with the very beautiful cashmere, which is a pleasure to knit. And I'm right now, I think I have passed the middle of where I wanted to be. I'll see if I need to make it longer or make it shorter once I have about that much left to go and finish the decreases. We'll see where I am. Anyway, this is an easy pattern, easy to be memorized. If you don't like bubbles, I'm sorry. I don't like much bubbles, but you see, I have made my fleur shawl with big bubbles. I have other shawl with bubbles. These ones are not very difficult to make. I'm not sure I'm giving away anything. I don't think it's a stitch that she made up. So you need 6 times in the same stitch, and then you pass all the 5 previous stitches over the last one, the 6th one, and then this is how you make the bubbles. So it's a bit less tedious than knitting back and forth for the bubbles. And there is a little motif. You have reverse stockinette on one side of the bubbles, and you have garter on the other side of the bubble and either side of the shawl. I'm slipping my first stitch to make a nice edge of the garter part. That's the only modification I'm making because she did not call for that, and I think it makes a neater edge when you slip the first stitch and you have it here on the other side. So the yarn is a delight to work with. It's very plumped, very soft. Heading it double. If you ever consider doing this pattern with some yarn held double, this one is a bit hard to knit with double. It's quite stiff, it has some resistance, and I kind of have pain in my thumbs, so I need to make some yoga for knitters. But the pattern is very easy to memorize. It goes on, it's 4 rows, so you have bubbles every 4 rows. Easy to memorize. I have stitch markers so that I know there are that many stitches in between each stitch marker, and if I'm off, I know I don't need to go back very far away, just maybe the row below. And so that's, I could knit without the stitch markers. It's just making it easy to me. And so I have been only once not driving. We went for a hike with my in-laws about 45 minutes from where they live, and I took it with me to knit. I did all of the other driving. I drove 1,500 kilometers during that 2 weeks period, I did a lot of driving, even though I don't like driving, I did drive a lot. And I would need, when we would have conversations or we would be watching movies or stuff like that, it's simple enough so that you can do other things with that project. Of course, the only one you need attention for is the only ones are the multiple bubbles. I guess I will have to count how many bubbles I've made after I finished it, because it's quite impressive and I like very much the overall feeling of that very graphic fabric that it gives. And I think it's going to be very warm first and very elegant in a way, even though it's a bit out of the usual type of patterns, and it will go with a lot of things as this very, I would say it's more on the brown, warmer side. It's a warmer type of color of beige, between beige and light brown. You see, this one is more gray. And yeah, I think it's gonna be very nice. And I'm reserving now this project to be knitting on when in between, or if I can just, if I do have enough time for maybe one repeat, 4 rows, I can take that. And it's gonna be my project to be making on the, when I don't have much time and an easy project. So this is my Christmas cast on. And as you can see, you will see my next project is my New Year's cast on, even though as I was away, I did not bring anything with me but that. So I casted on the next project a few days after New Year's, so I hope you will forgive me and allow me to call it my New Year's cast on. Okay, so the sun is coming up. I may have to stop and shut the windows at some point. So my next project is my New Year's cast on that we are on the 4th of January 2024 that I casted on last night. I hope you will excuse me and I hope you will allow me to call it my New Year's cast on, because I was not home for New Year's. My youngest was home and he went with some friends somewhere. But I was with my beloved in-laws, so we made, we did a couple hikes in the heavy rain at some point. But I did not want to bring anything complicated or multiple projects. So that's one thing. Second thing is I also wanted some project that had some meaning. My Christmas cast on was in a way a selfish project, yarn that I chose, a pattern that I chose. So it's me and only me inside or we associated with that project. For the New Year's cast on, I wanted to have some of you associated with it. So that's one point. I have multiple beautiful yarns to choose from. That's the other point, and I did not know which one to be choosing. So I hope that all the ones of you who send me yarn, you won't be mad at me because I chose to knit with the Knitted and Held double. So this is the Vasen colorway that Caroline sent me. It's with the yarn, with the light here, you don't see it much, but it's a very soft pink. If I do that, maybe you see it, it's a bit pink. Maybe you can see it here, it's a bit pink, and if I do that, maybe, I don't know. Okay, so if the light is not and the sun is not cooperating, I will shut the windows, but I have to say that we haven't seen the sun in a long time, and I kind of want it to come to my house. So Caroline had started some project with Vasen that she had ripped out. I think it was a shawl or something. And she had already caked or balled up the Vasen double. It would not be difficult to be knitting it single. I don't know if you see it's pink, maybe that way. But anyway, I decided that I wanted to knit with it double-stranded. This is also why I had used parallel held single for the fleur shawl, so that I have experience with both of them. And after knitting a whole big shawl with knitted and held single, I had kind of in mind to knit it double because it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky to knit it single. Anyway, so when I was sure I wanted to use the knitted yarn, the question was which pattern. So before I left to go to my in-laws, because I spent 5 or 6 days with them, before I left, I had gone through all of my books and nothing really came up with me. So I left to see them. So this is another 4 hours drive, and on my way back it was even more than that, because we had gusting storms, big winds, lots of rain. So I had a lot of time to think about it, and when I was home I was almost decided about what I was going to be knitting. So I've been casting on, so this is the right side. I've been casting on. I'm not sure you can recognize that at all. I've been casting on last night, and this is what I did. And the pattern I decided on was, and it's not quite a pattern, it's more of a recipe, is Huldra vest by Miss Evol Knits. I will link her blog posts, and in the blog post you have the YouTube video where she talks about why this name, and I'm not gonna paraphrase her or talk about it in a not good more. It's going to be more difficult for me to talk about it than what she does, but there is a story about Huldra, and she knitted in dark knitted yarn, and I think the name fits dark knitted yarn. I decided I was going to use Vasen, which is very light, a light pink. And I had already decided I wanted a vest with what I have, because I don't think I will have enough for a sweater. I don't have enough to make sleeves, to knit sleeves. And Miss Evol Knits in her recipe gives you the overall idea of what the pattern is and what she's made. There are 4 videos, I think, 3 or 4 videos about that. There is a hood that I won't be making, I don't think so. And there is a front pocket that I won't be making either. Other than that, she gives you the general directions without giving you any yarn stitch recommendation or yarn recommendations, even though she's knit with a knitted and held double. So I decided, so I made a 4 stitch I-cord cast on, and in the middle I'm doing that type of ribbing pattern that I have found in another I'm not sure I even recall where I found this stitch motif that I had decided to use at some point somewhere. So in a way, so you have reverse, it's a 2x1 ribbing, so with reverse stockinette, and the knit stitches are slipped on the right side, so it makes this kind of elongated stitch. And on either side I have just regular moss stitch, because I really do love the structure that moss stitch gives to a garment. Knitted being very supple, very flowy. I guess with knitted and held double it will be difficult, but it's a very drapey fabric with knitted and held single. And from all the videos and all the things I've seen, I kind of guess that knitted and held double would be flowy too. I use 5mm US 8, I think, needles. I wanted the vest to have a bit more structure, because I guess you know me by now. You know I like when garments have a bit more structure, and the yarn holds on itself and the garment holds on itself, and it's not all drapey and moving everywhere. So this kind of rib in the middle and moss stitch on either side. I have, I'm not sure I recall, 72 stitches, I guess. I'm not sure I recall. 70, 72 or 60 something. I did write it down, but I did just measure the length of the I cord against my Hemsworth vest so that it goes across my back. That's what she recommends. I guess it's gonna be okay. And then so you need for some length in the back. Once again, it's a recipe, so she doesn't give you any centimeters or any measurements. Once you have done the back, the length that you like, you increase to make to shape a bit the armholes. Then you pick up stitches in the front. Are you on the right side? Yes, you are in the right side. So you pick up stitches along the I cord for the front. You shape the shoulders with short rows, and then you knit the front, and you can knit the front a different length or increase the width of the front if you want to adjust for your bust. You do the increases for the underarms, and once this is done, you knit in the round down to the bottom of the vest. What I liked is that she recommends another type of slip stitch ribbing, and you slip with yarn in front so this is in a motif with 6 stitches, and you slip with yarn in front every pearls, that what looks like pearls, and you knit them on the other side. So that makes also a very sturdy fabric that would hold very well on the armhole if you have a more flowy part on the body. I'm not sure which kind of color I'm gonna be doing. Will I do a V-neck, or will I do a round neck? I don't know. I think I'm gonna be carrying it on this motif in the front, with the rib part in the center and the moss stitch on the side. I may do something else. I may decrease it to be pointing it that way in the front and have the moss stitch all in the front. I'm not sure. I don't know if I will. I think I will make a detail on the side to shape the side and to mark the side. And yes, this is my New Year's cast on. I'm quite happy I knit that, because for a long time, so it's not I'm not completely freelance on that, but for a long time I've been willing to be more adventurous into my garment knitting or my shawls knitting and make up my own patterns. I'm not sure I have the imagination to use complicated stitch motif, but anyway, with the Nutiden, I did not want to have cross cables or have to cross stitches. I just wanted to have knits and purls, or don't come onto my shawl, knits and purls, and nothing difficult, because Nutiden is quite of a fragile yarn, and even if it's very easy to repair, I don't want to be repairing and joining yarn all during the whole my whole knitting experience. So simple motif for a simple vest that will be very warm, because already having it in my hands, it's already very warm. And we'll see if I get more adventurous with the stitch motif in the front. I guess I'm gonna keep the very simple ribbing and the moss stitch on the sides. I like moss stitch a lot for, as I've already said, for garments, because it gives a lot of structure and it reinforces the way the garment looks and behaves. So yes, the Huldra vest by Miss Evil Knits. And as I was saying, it's one step towards designing my own or making my own. I have a lot of patterns or books where you have general recipes that you can adjust for yourself. I think it's one step towards that goal, because even though she only gives you general guidance and general ideas, you have a whole set of videos where you see what she does. So that's that. There's that. The other thing is, I think I will make the hood all by itself with a front and a bottom, kind of like a decay with the hood. I liked her approach to hoods. It's very simple too. And not sure I will make it in Nutiden or other type of wood, but the sun being here is very, very, very light. So I guess you will see the color, the true color of this one a bit better at, oh, you see it's kind of pink here. A bit better at some other time, and once I have a bit more, I need a bit more on it. And you see I cut, the yarn broke because I had put my fleur shawl on my laps so that Onyx doesn't walk and sleep on it. So yes, the Huldra vest. Okay, so the sun might be hiding itself, so we can have time to talk about my life updates without having to shut the windows. If you're not interested into my life updates, you can skip that part and watch something else and some other people. In the meantime, if you're leaving us here, I will, and I am thanking you a lot for being here with me and all of us, and for contributing to this very happy Stitches community. All my little Stitches, where I put some of you or everyone in my own knitting, and I do hope that it does, doing the same does contribute to your joy and happiness. I wish you once again a very, very happy and productive year, and I hope that we will go along together and you will stay with me for this whole next year, and I will see you next time. Okay, so a bit of life updates. As I have said a bit along the video, my two sons, my two youngest sons who live far away from me, were home for over a week, over Christmas time. And I went to pick up Paulin, who lives in Rennes, so that's about 2 hours drive. We had lunch with him, his girlfriend, and my second son, who was home already for a week, the one who got his PhD, and he came home to relax and have some kind of a vacation before starting to work again. He's back to work right now, so am I. And so we went to Rennes so that we have lunch and he can meet Paulin's girlfriend. So we had lunch and then we drove another 2.5 hours to go to my mother and pick her. It was quite late when we arrived, so we decided to stay overnight and just leave the next morning. So it was on the Friday before Christmas. So we left the next Saturday morning and went back home. So this was another 3.5 hours drive. There was a lot of people on the highway, and the weather was already becoming not very nice. But we had a nice drive back home. So we stayed home for Christmas, and my eldest son came home for Christmas with his girlfriend, and they left a day after Christmas to go to her own family. So my mother was with us. I would say it was quite of a complicated week for her with me, because when she wanted to do things, she had not brought anything. So I said, okay, I can give you yarn and needles and you can knit. No, I don't want to knit. Okay, do you want to do some sewing? Okay, I want to do some sewing. Okay, let's go and let's buy fabric for you to sew something, or a embroidery kit, or some kind of canvas type of kit. No, I don't want anything. But at the same time, she was quite complaining that I would not let her do anything. So I was having her helping us in the kitchen, and that was not that easy, because she would not understand and everything. So in the end, after several days, I finally gave her some kind of fabric, and I said, okay, go for all the dust in all the house. So it took her a long time, several days, to dust all the house at her own pace, and she was happy with that. The only thing she was happy with again was eating, and she was eating all the time. And then when I was taking off food from the counters, or she was getting mad at me because I would remove food from her. Okay, so I would let it back on the counter, put it back on the counter. So eating was a fun part, and I think I've been playing all the DVDs I have at home, from nice cartoons, long Christmas movies or Christmas cartoons that we used to watch with the kids. I think we've watched them all. The only thing she was not complaining about was sitting down and watching the television, or at least my computer screen. And I have a big screen for when I want to watch something. So it was very difficult. I took her for a walk on 2 occasions. And when I say for a walk, it was maybe 20 minutes around the house for the first time, and 15 minutes at another point. And she was, sorry, I thought I had focus on, but I guess it's off right now. Yeah, my focus is not on. So I took her for a walk, and it was so difficult. She was walking for 5, 6 steps, I guess, and she would stop, and she was pounding and complaining about her knee, her hip, and everything. Thing is, when we went one day to the beach with my youngest son, and another day to the bigger city, to Caen, where there was some kind of street event with big animated dragons, and a female dragon and her baby dragons, and they would put kids into these kind of, I would say, it was electrical. I think it was an electrical engine in that, and there was the big dragon with a platform to have maybe 10 kids, and the little baby dragons would hold 1 or 2 kids. And they would walk in the city, and there was music and everything. So we went there, so with my 3 sons, and she was very happy. She was not complaining. We did not too much walk. We did a small stroll around the city, and I parked outside of the city, and we took the free shuttle to get in, so we did not walk with her, and she did not walk, and she was happy to see the city in the little shuttle. And she was not complaining at all. So either she has other distractions, and she was talking to my sons, and she forgot she was having pain, or that was just with me, and I think it's more on the later one. Because when she is in her home, she goes every week for a day at some kind of a nursing home, and they have games, and they solicit, and they train her brain, and they have physical therapy and walks and stuff like that, and activities. And she never complains about her knee or her hip over there. So I think it was just me. She did not want to go walk with me. And if I say that, it's also she did something that she's used to doing, and I don't like it at all. She would talk about me or things like that to my sons, who were very embarrassed to hear what she had to say. And I'm used to that, so it's not a problem for me to be hearing what she says, because I know what's right, what's wrong, and she had a difficult life and everything. So it's not a problem for me to hear her say that. But it was a problem to my sons, and they only talked about it after she was gone to me. And they were very, very surprised, I would say, surprised about how she would be speaking to them, because they are not a lot with her. My parents never asked to have them for vacation, and whenever I did ask them to, maybe if they would have to like to have the kids for a week for vacation, they always refused because it was too much of a trouble, and I had 3 kids, and they did not want me to have 3 kids and 3 sons. It's a lot of work and everything. It's okay. So they have not created any bonds with them, no serious ones, when they were kids. And now they are grown-ups, and my kids are able to sort of all these kind of feelings and everything. So they were quite surprised how she was talking to them. Anyway, it was a bit difficult for them. So it was when I drove her back. She stayed for a week at home with me and my kids. And when I drove her back, she was silent the whole time. We had a 3.5 drive, and we stopped to have lunch in a nice restaurant on the way. And the only thing she said was she was happy to go back home, which is fine. I mean, I can understand. It was difficult for her to not be home and not change of all of her habits. And it's I guess with elderly people, you move one thing into their life and they are lost and they are uncomfortable. But anyway, I'm not sure she remembers she was home for this whole week, because when we talk on the phone, it's like if she's never been here, and I'm not necessarily asking her. And so I did talk about it, if she had a good sleep after the long drive, and she was surprised that we were talking about a long drive. So I guess she's just living in the moment. So she has forgotten all of that. Maybe it will come back. I have made some pictures. I took pictures so that she can remember when I show her, and I will print them out and send them out to her. I haven't had any time to do that yet. So that was it was a pleasant moment with my children. It was quite of a heavy moment, having her behaving that way. And what I said to my sons, I do not know if I will have her at home for a long period of time like that one other time, because I think it's too difficult. Also too difficult for her, I guess. So that's one thing. Then for the end of the year, I went to spend 4 days with my beloved in-laws. So I drove her back, and then I drove another 2 hours to go to their house. And we spent 4 days there. It was very simple. We did not party or anything. We went for a day to La Rochelle. There is a big aquarium there, a famous one, which is one of the most famous in France. So we had been there already with the kids when they have 2 boys. When the kids were young, we had been there already. But we had not been there in a long, long time. So as their 2 sons and one of the girlfriends went, I had to drive again, because we could not go into only one car. So we spent the day there. We went to a nice restaurant. We had a big walk in the La Rochelle city, which is a very, very pleasant and very rich little port, and it's right in front of a famous island, which is Huldra, and all the land over there is extremely expensive, so it attracts very much richer people. So all the stores and everything is more on that high-end type of living. So we went there, we had a nice walk on the port, and It was very cold and windy, but no rain. And we had rain on the way in and on the way out, and almost nothing during our stay in La Rochelle. So that was a nice one. And then we went for 2 walks with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. The first one was, we had doubts. We had doubts because it was close by the river that is on that side of the city. And the thing is, it had been raining a lot, and the river had been out of its bed and flooded everywhere. But this is it's a usual flooding river, so there are no houses next to the bed of the river and all that. So, but the path for the first half, almost half, maybe more than a third of the path, was next to the river. And let me tell you, we had one spot of heavy rain at some point, but it was so muddy because the river had been out of its bed and back in, so the path was extremely muddy. People would go by riding bikes, so that would even go deeper in the mud, and there were big puddles of water and mud. It was quite difficult, and I did not have my walking sticks. I had left them in the car, and we had said, okay, no, it's not necessarily to have walking sticks. It was quite of a bit necessary, so my brother-in-law made 2 sticks out of wood for my sister-in-law and me. And after we went away from the river, we were climbing a little hill on the side, and there were cliffs and a very, very nice path. It was much drier, and after that we ended up in a forest, and it was just wet leaves on the ground, so we just had to be careful about not sliding too much. But the rest of the hike was more on the normal side. We were so muddy that I took my shoes off and went just with my socks in the car, because we had mud up to our knees, almost. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I'm exaggerating a bit, but not that much. The other hike we made, so it was like a much longer hike that time, the second time. It was like something a bit over 8 kilometers. So I'll see how many miles that is, maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 miles or something like that. And we were in the forest, so it was raining once again, but the forest had leaves, but the paths were clear, and with the trees the paths were not muddy at all, so we could walk quite a bit in that forest. It's a very, very nice forest, and it was on the Sunday, I think. And problem is with hunting spots. So during the Sundays, hunt is allowed in France, but this one forest is a public forest, and hunts are allowed only to contain the boars and maybe the deers if there are too many of them. But other than that, you can't hunt in that forest. So this is why we were, and the hunts have to be published before, so whenever there are hunting people over there. So there was not at all, and it was quite cold, so we did not meet a lot of people. It was the day after, it was on the 1st of January. I guess people were sleeping and assimilating everything they had eat or drunk. So, but we were very reasonable, and we went for that hike, and it was a very pleasant hike with both of them. And the next day, what did we do the next day? I'm not sure I recall. We did something. Maybe I will write it down if I recall, but it's not important. We did not go to the movies that time. We did some, I guess we played games and we were at home because the weather was horrible. And when I went back, it was on the third storm that was hitting the west of France. And we had very, very, very heavy wind and heavy rain during my drive back home. And I don't know, one thing that I do not like at all in France is that people driving regulation recommendations or laws or just suggestions for some people. And when there is a lot of rain on the highway, the speed limit is down. So I was driving at the regular speed limit for flooded or wet roads, and most of the people were not. And that makes me very afraid, because when you have a flooded road and people drive at a higher speed, it's very dangerous. And in one section of the highway for about, I would say, an hour, I'm on the highway that goes back to Paris. So there were a lot of people on that road, on that highway. Anyway, I made it safely. It took me a long time, and I also stopped on the highway to have a bit of a lunch because I was very tired driving in these conditions with heavy rain, and sometimes you could not see maybe 50 meters ahead of you because of the rain. And there was a lot of people on the road because I guess people were driving back home. Anyway, so my youngest was still at home when I went back. And the next morning we got up at 4 o'clock for me to drive him back to his train, which was at 5:30 or 6 or something like that. And he went back home, and I've been alone since then. So I've been doing a lot of catching up on my work that I haven't been doing so far. This is why I was not able to record this video before today, and it's on a Thursday. I don't like to have so little time to edit the video and finish it for tomorrow, but that's the way it is. That's life. And now we are back to work and back to doing the regular things with my regular life. And I do appreciate that solo time after having been with that many people in my house or around me. I guess I get used to living alone, and I guess I kind of like it. So I like to have my free time and the time where I decide what I want to be doing. And I do appreciate being around a lot of people and either managing or following the flow. And I think I like to have my own me time and do things for myself. And I did not need that much during that period. But such is life. I will have some more knitting time and some more filming time ahead of me. And I do hope that you could find joy and happiness during this end of year, because it's not always easy for everyone to feel joyful and happy along with everybody when maybe your life or your health or the circumstances are not the ones that make you feel joyful and happy. And I can assure you that you were in my thoughts and you were in my good wishes for during the first of the year, the first January 1st in the morning. This is when in France, at least at midnight, with the people you are with, and the next day you have one day, and even people say you have the whole month for your blessing for the year. So yeah, I've been thinking about all of you, and I'm so very happy to be talking with you in the comment sections. And some people have contacted me on Ravelry, on personal messages, on the different social media, and I'm very happy we are having these little private conversations and the wider public conversations, and you are giving me so much that I will never be able to pay you back with a proper coach. It's not a question of paying you back, but you do bring me a lot of joy and happiness, and this is why, even though I'm in the middle of a frenzy time at work, because we have a new MOOC that is starting up, a big one, so there are many things to be doing. Even though I don't have much time, I'm so very happy to put up my equipment and start filming and talking to you. And I hope we will share this next knitting year together, that you will stick around if you're new here, and that you will bring new people, maybe. And I thank you very much for all of that. And I will see you next time.